Good evening. On behalf of Chancellor Michael Wortel, it is my pleasure to welcome you to IPFW and to the Omnibus Lecture Series. My name is Nancy Jackson. I'm Director of Music Therapy here at IPFW in the Department of Music. I think it is so appropriate that tonight's speaker is here during the month of March, which happens to be National Disabilities Month. You may be familiar with a slogan that's been floating around for a year or two, which says, "Disable the label." As a music therapist, I know that the power of music is an excellent source of helping people to really make contact with their strengths, their abilities, their talents, and allowing them to have functional lives despite limitations. Tonight's speaker has used his talents and his abilities in music, as well as many others that he happens to possess, to really fulfill his potential and to do what I call living an abled life. I think that the stories that you will hear from him tonight will inspire you, inspire me, to really disable the label that sometimes we carry around in our thoughts. I would like to take a moment to thank the Omnibus Series sponsor, the English Bonter Mitchell Foundation, and our media sponsors, Wayne TV, News Channel 15, and the AWS Foundation. The Northeast Indiana Public Radio. I would also like to thank our sponsor for tonight's lecture series, who is the AWS Foundation. I have two very quick announcements. There will be a question and answer session immediately after the lecture. You will see that there are two microphone stands that will be in place. One is up there. There will be one down on this level. Please line up there if you have a question. If you're unable to reach one of those microphones, please raise your hand and someone will bring you a roving microphone. Secondly, after tonight's lecture, in the main lobby, you'll be able to purchase copies of Mr. Hughes' book, and he will be there to sign copies, so please don't miss out on that opportunity. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Ben Eisbart, who is Vice President of Steel Dynamics and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of AWS Foundation, and he will introduce tonight's speaker. Please welcome him.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming. On behalf of the AWS Foundation, I'm delighted to welcome you here to tonight's Omnibus Lecture. March is, as you've heard, Disability Awareness Month, a time to remind ourselves to look beyond the disability and to see the ability, not to say that it's impossible, but rather to give voice to what is possible. Our work at the Anthony Wayne Foundation can be summed up with those words: ability and possibility. Foundation dollars have supported playground projects so that children with physical challenges can play alongside their friends. It has provided scholarships for specialized academic instruction to enhance a child's success in the classroom. We have supported disability awareness presentations to teach third graders to appreciate the difference in their classmates. And we have funded adaptive sports programs that not only build physical strength, but equally, if not more important, self-esteem and independence. And also, we have supported creative movement and performing arts that develop the essential skills for life. Since our grant making began in 2009, we have awarded more than $1 million to area organizations whose services and programs benefit thousands of infants, children, and adults here in Northeast Indiana that have intellectual as well as physical challenges. So we are delighted tonight to sponsor this omnibus lecture, which will be presented by a unique and talented young man, Patrick Henry Hughes. A virtuoso pianist, vocalist, and trumpet player, Patrick, his family, and his teachers have focused on his abilities and turned on what could have easily been viewed as the impossible into a rich and productive world of the possible. So please join me tonight in welcoming to our stage Patrick Henry and his father, Patrick John Henry Hughes. Welcome to Fort Worth.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Let's try that one again. Good evening, everyone. There we go. It's great to be with you this evening. My name is Patrick Henry Hughes. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and this is my father, Patrick John Hughes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out to share this evening with my son and myself. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. We want to thank everybody that invited us to come and share a little bit of our story with you all this evening. We are also going to take credit for the warm weather and sunshine that's coming your way. Both today, yes, thank you. I have an aunt that just arrived in Louisville a couple of days ago from Tampa, and she took credit for bringing it to Louisville, so I thought, well, I'm passing it forward, and are paying it forward, as they say, and bringing it up here to Fort Wayne. So it's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. We are from Louisville, Kentucky. Before we get really into our routine here, I wanted to share that Patrick is the oldest of my 3 sons. I've been married to the same wonderful woman for almost 24 years. Our anniversary is next week. It'll be 24 years. We have 3 sons. It's usually Patrick and I that are on television and get to travel and speak and share our story, but my wife and our other 2 sons are a huge part of what allows me to spend this much time with Patrick as he goes around the country and even to many places around the world to share his story with others. So I wanted to say hi to my son Jesse, who is a sophomore at the University of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky, and my son Cameron, who is the youngest and a sophomore in high school in Louisville. They're great boys. They don't realize what a big part they are of our speaking tour, because if they were the kind of student I was, I'd be busy going to parent-teacher conferences rather than being able to travel with Patrick. Anyway, enough of that. To start our presentation tonight, we like to show a video. Patrick Henry has been on television numerous times. He's been on Oprah, The Ellen Show, ESPN, all of the major news networks have done stories on him, all the big national magazines he's been featured in. But there are still some who don't know Patrick's story or why we are with you all this evening. So we like to show you a brief video. It's about 5.5 minutes long. That kind of takes you from Patrick's birth to where we are today, and that really kind of fills you in on who Patrick is if you're not familiar with his story. So we'll also have a little bit different flavor with our lecture this evening. Not only do you get a lecture, but you'll get a concert as well, as Patrick will perform some piano songs and sing this evening during our presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to roll this piece from ESPN. Thank you.
The piece is titled Clair de Lune, Light of the Moon. In the darkness of his eyes and through the sweetness of his hands, when Patrick Hughes plays, it is the music of possibility and the sound of promise. How would you describe your disabilities?
Not disabilities at all, more abilities.
Abilities everybody hears and sees at every Louisville football game. To understand how Patrick Hughes and his father became a 2-person member of the Cardinal Marching Band, go back to when the music began. Born without eyes and with a tightening of the joints that prevents his limbs from ever straightening, Patrick has been blind and crippled from birth.
It's just countless the number of dreams that die, and my wife and I were devastated. We just asked, why us? We played by all the rules, we worked hard, we just didn't understand.
Kisses for Dad.
That heartbreak began to fade even before Patrick's first birthday, from his first moments at the family's piano in Louisville, Kentucky.
You you could go up and hit a note no matter where it was on the piano, and within one or two tries he would find that exact note.
By his second birthday, he was playing requests.
Can you play You Are My Sunshine? Play Twinkle.
I was just ecstatic that, you know, okay, we're not going to play baseball, but we're going to play music together, and that was really exciting. Let's see how far we can run with this.
Fitted with artificial eyes and placed in a wheelchair, as Patrick grew, so did his passion and his talent. He played old standards by grade school
We open up our hearts, say cannonball.
and blues numbers by high school. By the time he arrived at the University of Louisville, his musical ability on piano as well as trumpet was well known throughout the city.
I said, Patrick, you need to be a part of the marching band. And their reaction was just a little bit of a pause.
My dad and I are hearing this and we're like, right. I mean, how in the heck am I supposed to march?
The next step was working out what we needed to make happen in order for Patrick to be involved in the marching band, other than just parking on the sidelines and playing his instrument.
I said, well, if Dr. Burns that impassioned about it and Patrick wants to do it, then by golly, I'll give it my all as well.
So it was decided Patrick would play and Dad would push. As part of the 214-member Louisville Marching Band, a blind and wheelchair-bound trumpet player and his able-bodied father do it all together. From the pre-game drill practice to the march around the stadium to the halftime performance in front of thousands. Dad rolls and rotates his son across the field in mostly perfect formation.
He'll sometimes end up pushing me a little quicker than normal, so that pretty much means, hey, must have done something wrong, so he's got to hurry up to get me to the right spot.
Dip. Spin.
In order to be at every band practice
I'm too slow on the spin.
and to sit beside his son in every class,
Question?
How do you come up with all the...
Patrick's father works the graveyard shift for UPS.
How would you describe a work day for your dad?
Poor thing. He goes to work about 11 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday nights, and then gets in at about 6 and goes to bed at about 6 and sleeps till around 11.
By the time Patrick moves from his bed into his wheelchair each morning, Dad is ready to begin their day together.
He's my hero. I've told him before. What he goes through, it's taught me that I don't really have any complaints. I guess a father couldn't ask for any more than the relationship that I have with Patrick.
God made me blind and unable to walk. Big deal. He gave me the ability to, the musical gifts I have, and the great opportunity to meet new people.
That's your fans, buddy.
Maybe when they hear him play, they recognize, wow, you know, imagine the possibilities I didn't even consider when I saw this young man that I now know from hearing him play.
So whether it be on a field playing the Louisville fight song or at the piano playing Claire de Lune, in a sense the melody is the same. Patrick Hughes plays so that we might hear the music of opportunity and the sound of potential.
Wow, what a great job by ESPN and Tom Rinaldi, huh? So with that, I say we get into some music. How does that sound? All right, I'd like to start out this evening with a little song that I really enjoy because it talks a lot about realizing and achieving your dreams. It's by Elvis Presley, and it's called If I Can Dream. There must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in a sky more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why, oh why can't my dreams come true? Oh yeah, there must be peace and understanding sometimes, strong winds of promise that'll blow away every doubt and fear. If I can dream of a warmer sun that shines a light on everyone, tell me why, oh why won't that sun appear? We're trapped in a cloud with too much rain. We're lost in a world that's troubled with pain. But as long as a man has the strength to dream, he can redeem his soul and fly. Deep in my heart there's a burning question. Still I am sure that the answer's gonna come somehow out there in the dark. There's a beckoning candle, and while I can think, while I can talk, while I can stand, while I can walk, while I can dream, please make my dreams come true. Right now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So that's just a little sample of the different music that I do. I do music from country, rock, jazz, pop, show tunes. You name it, I probably do something from that genre. But I also studied classical music with a lady who is a Juilliard graduate who teaches in Louisville. So wherever I go, I always like to do some classical. So would you like to hear some classical? All right, this is a piece by a composer named Christian Sinding, and it's called The Rustles of Spring. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a lot to share. Obviously, as a dad, I'm very proud of Patrick and have so many stories and so many, inspirational and motivational moments and points and decisions and things that his mother and I have made in his life, and he has things that he likes to share. So they also said that we want to do a question and answer afterwards for a few minutes, so we're going to try to jam as much as we can into a short period of time. Patrick also has 3 more songs he'd like to perform for you if you would like to hear 3 more songs.
Thank you.
Well, I like to always start out and touch on something in the ESPN piece that is truly heartwarming to me. As I said in my opening remarks, Patrick's the oldest of my 3 sons, and my wife had an absolutely picture-perfect pregnancy. I was 26 years old when Patrick was born, a huge sports nut. I still am. I love sports. They're a big part of my life. I played some high school sports, never good enough for college, but loved sports, and always had this dream. Always had this dream that my son would one day be a star on a football field at a large university. Now, when Patrick was born, and we heard all of the things that our son couldn't do and all of the problems with Patrick and the issues that he had, obviously I buried the dream of my son ever being a star on a football field at a large university. But, as you saw in this video, my son indeed became a star on a football field at a large university. Just in a way that I never could have imagined. And I think that's so true for all of us in all of our lives. We all have dreams and goals and hopes and aspirations, and sometimes, like it did at Patrick's birth, it seems like there's just no way. It's an impossible dream that can never be achieved. But even when we can't see how something can happen, you know, if you will, it can happen in ways that we can't imagine. Just like my son becoming a star on a football field at a large university through a marching band. Not as the quarterback or the running back or the linebacker or any of those things, but through the marching band, something that I never could envision. But, you know, my wife and I, our goal was, you know, I guess really was that our children would be healthy and happy and, you know, pay their taxes and support their parents in their older golden years. We never dreamed of any of these things for Patrick. We just wanted him to be happy. And it happened through the marching band. So dreams can come true. Now I want to talk just a little bit about Patrick's birth and run through his life in a very condensed fashion. My wife had Patrick. She was also 26 years old. She had a picture-perfect pregnancy. She had an ultrasound at midterm. And this is 1988, so ultrasounds then weren't what they are now. But, you know, they looked in and, you know, and everything looked okay according to the doctors. They didn't check to see if his eyes were developing and those sorts of, you know, what were more microscopic issues on ultrasounds back in 1988. She took very good care of herself. No alcohol, no tobacco, no drugs, none of that. She gave all that up for 9 months. Just kidding. Just kidding. But she's an athlete. She runs in the marathons and all that kind of stuff. But she took really good care of herself. So the night Patrick was born, I fully expected the doctors to say, "You're the proud parents of a healthy baby boy." But those words never came. Instead, in the immediate moments of Patrick's birth, we learned a new term, multiple anomalies, that I heard one of the doctors say. And then as the minutes and the hours went by, we heard of something called bilateral anophthalmia, which has taken me years to learn how to pronounce without stumbling over it. But it's the absence of eyes. Patrick's eyes just didn't grow. There's no optic nerve or anything. He has glass eyes. They're artificial, made by somebody here in Indiana. Yay, shout out for Indianapolis, the city down the street. Anyway, but he has glass eyes. Patrick also was born with pterygium syndrome, and that is a tightening in his elbows and also in his knees that keeps him from ever straightening his limbs 180 degrees. So while he can use his legs, as you might have noticed, to work the pedal on the piano and to help assist him in transfers in and out of his chairs, he's always in that seated position. And we went to doctors galore for years to see if those sorts of things could be straightened out. He did bracing and lots of things to get him the reach that he has, which is about 90 degrees. But he can walk in the water, not on the water, but in the water, which is kind of neat to watch him in the pool kind of bouncing along the way he does. But anyway, so these are the sort of things that we were hit with as brand new parents. And we cried ourselves to sleep for quite a few weeks, my wife and I, and we asked, why us? But then eventually, you know, we right out of the bat, we loved our son, but eventually we decided, okay, why not us? Our thinking evolved when Patrick was an infant to why not us? You know, we looked at our friends and our relatives, and we decided, you know, we were going to give Patrick as full a life as we had planned for him before he came into this world. Now, we were still always worried about cognitive ability. Could he communicate? You know, what other issues might lie ahead for this baby on down the road? But we loved our son, and we were just going to give him every opportunity we could. We weren't going to become reclusive. We weren't going to keep Patrick home. We were going to push him out in front of people. And if people had a problem with Patrick or were uncomfortable with Patrick, it was those people that were going to have to change, and we're going to have to evolve, not us. So that's how we lived our life. And obviously, Patrick has returned many times over, if you will, the investment that we made in him. But we made that investment in all of our sons and all of our children. We just wanted them to have opportunities. We've been very blessed with many others who have wanted to see Patrick succeed. The band director in that video, Dr. Greg Byrne, who saw my son not as a blind guy in a wheelchair, but saw him as a trumpet player, and over my protest said, you know, I want your son in our marching band. So I had a football season ticket for years to U of L. I couldn't afford a basketball ticket with what the basketball team makes, right? But Patrick, once he decided he wanted to go to U of L, what did you want to do?
Well, I actually wanted to be a member of the pep band that plays at those basketball games.
And somebody had to roll him in and out of Freedom Hall, right? So cha-ching! Yeah. But Dr. Byrne had other plans. In order to be in the pep band, which is a spring semester class, sport, whatever. I'm sorry. In order to be in the pep band, which is the spring semester sport, it's basketball season, you had to participate in marching band, and Dr. Byrne was unwilling to bend the rules for Patrick. Now, I thought I could write a letter to the president and maybe get a reprieve because of Patrick being visually impaired and using a wheelchair for mobility, but I never got around to it. And eventually we went to band camp, and the news media that always loved Patrick, even as an infant and a child in our hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, was there filming that day. So it was like, okay, the die is cast. We've got to make it happen, and we did. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, talk a little bit about Patrick's education real quick. Patrick has always been mainstreamed in our Jefferson County Public Schools. It's a large school district of about 100,000 children. We have the great Kentucky School for the Blind in Louisville, Kentucky, which is next door to the world-renowned American Printing House for the Blind. So we have great facilities for visually impaired children in Kentucky, but we chose to mainstream Patrick for a variety of reasons. Patrick was incredibly successful at school, and he works, for all you students in here, he worked very hard at it. But I'm proud to say from kindergarten through 12th grade, and Patrick always took advanced placement classes and international baccalaureate classes for college credit when they were available. 3 B's and all the rest A's. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
He just graduated from the University of Louisville in December. It took him 4.5 years to get out of U of L with a rigorous travel schedule that his father keeps him on. And I'm proud to say he graduated magna cum laude from U of L. So he is.
Thank you. But before you get too excited, though, I must say my dad was failing to tell you something. And that's that I also had straight F's. That is faith, family, friends, and what many of us often take for granted in this country, freedom.
Amen.
Thank you. Now, another story I like to tell, because, you know, people see me in they see videos of me in the marching band, or they see me play the piano and sing, so one would naturally assume that at the University of Louisville I majored in music. But I was actually a Spanish major. Thank you. As a matter of fact, I tested out of 2 years of Spanish and entered my freshman year taking junior level Spanish classes. So I've got to ask, por aplauso, ¿cuántos aquí hablan español? Unas personas. Bueno, es un placer estar aquí con ustedes esta noche para compartir mi historia.
So for the 95% of the audience that didn't clap, who are wondering if we're going to do the rest of our presentation in Spanish. What was that?
Well, first of all, I'd ask by applause how many here speak Spanish.
Okay.
And then I just said that it was a pleasure to be here.
So Patrick is a Spanish major. He's very versed in many things. Obviously, a trumpet player and a pianist and a vocalist. And you speak Spanish. I guess people are wondering now. I just said that you graduated in December, so maybe they're wondering what you're going to do with that college degree and how you're going to support your parents in our golden years.
Do you really need that much? I was going to say, do you really need that much support? Anyway, with the Spanish degree, I might pursue a career as a Spanish interpreter and eventually an international ambassador to a Spanish-speaking country. But thank you. But right now, I might continue in this field as a speaker, performer, and recording artist because my dad and I are still doing that, and that's going very well. However, I would really like to become the host of a popular television game show. But my path could lead me to work perhaps as a staff member at IPFW.
Hey. Now, I've got to go back a little bit. All this talent and all these gifts and abilities and languages, but you want to be the next Pat Sajak? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, you know, it would be cool to work with Vanna, but, you know, I've watched Pat do the Wheel of Fortune ever since I was little and have loved the job that he's done with it throughout the years. The show that I have in mind is actually one that I've created called Stash of Cash.
Well, I am closing in fast on 50 years old, so I've seen a few game shows in my life. I don't ever recall seeing a game show host, though, who was as visually impaired as Patrick or who used a wheelchair for mobility. But Patrick has been showing me for 23 years now that if he is determined to host a game show one day, we will all be tuning in to the, what is it?
Stash of Cash.
To the Stash of Cash on, you know, weeknights at 7 o'clock or whatever. So... Patrick also always, he did mention that he's a recording artist, right?
Right.
And he has recorded 2 CDs, and not in our basement, but in a real recording studio. And we brought a few of those with us tonight. When he's signing books, we'll also be selling CDs. But he's also, I'm very proud of him, with his dad and another gentleman, we authored a book called I Am Potential, 8 Lessons on Living, Loving, and Reaching Your Dreams. And to all the English teachers I ever had who said I would never have anything published, it's all about who you team up with. Yep. But anyway, it was a great experience. It was actually introduced by Meredith Vieira on the Today Show a couple of years ago, so we had a huge splash right off the bat, and then the book tour and full-time with classes and keeping up his grades. Patrick was remarkable through all of this. The book is actually published in 4 different languages. We got to go on a book tour in Asia. Just phenomenal. It's a million seller, right, buddy?
Right. We have 1 million of them in our cellar.
But you have a few of them in your bookstore as well. So hopefully you've got one. And if you want to learn more about Patrick, or if you didn't get a book, or you're not going to get one at the bookstore and you want to get one from Patrick, he will sign afterwards this evening. Somewhere they'll have us at a table where he can sign. He'd love to meet you. Patrick is a hugger. If you like that, if you're comfortable with that, but he loves to meet people. So if you have time after our presentation tonight, whether you're in line to get a book signing or you just want to get in line to meet Patrick, he would love to meet you. So please feel welcome to do that. We're spending the night here in Fort Wayne, so we're in no hurry. We're driving home tomorrow morning so we can stay as late as you all can, I think. Anyway, so he's got all of these gifts, all these abilities. One of the most amazing things about my son is he has a positive attitude. Never in Patrick's life did he ask his mother or me, why am I blind? Why can't I walk? He doesn't have time for those sorts of questions. Never splashed around in the self-pity pool. It's all about living in the moment for Patrick, accomplishing the most you can. You know, he could have slept in a little bit every day because I was sleeping until 9 or 10 o'clock before we went to classes after working the night shift at UPS. But he would get up with his mother at 6:30 a.m. before she went to her job so they could get in 2 hours of piano practice every morning before school. He practiced trumpet every day, straight A student. He's authored a book, records CDs. He makes the most out of every moment of every day. There's no time for lolling around and feeling sorry for himself. He's just got lots to do, right, Handsome?
That's true.
And it's been the best inspirational thing for me. I was a young man who, had those days where I hated going to my job. This is even before UPS, when I worked for other companies, but hated going to my job and didn't want to get in that minivan, and go to work. But, as soon as Patrick was born, and, I was one of those dads that was going to vicariously live my life through my son, but he came out and he said, we're going to do things differently. It's not going to be the way I planned. It's going to be finding out what Patrick's goals are. What are Patrick's dreams? What can Patrick do? What does he excel at? And playing to those strengths. Made me a better parent for my younger two sons. They'd probably never admit to that, but maybe one day they will when they have kids. But anyway, he makes the most out of every moment and every opportunity. One of the neatest things somebody said about the ESPN video, and it goes all over the world, and we hear from people every day who are seeing it from the first time and are inspired by Patrick's story. But some man wrote me one day and he said the thing that stuck out to him in the video was that when the band director, who was in the video, Dr. Greg Burns, said he wanted to send the marching band, Patrick didn't say, I can't do that. He said, how in the heck am I going to march? And right there is kind of a capsule of who Patrick is. It's not, I can't do that. It's, how are we going to make this happen? We can do it. We've got to find a way. We've got to think outside the box. We've got to dream. We've got to be willing to step outside of our comfort zone of what we believe to be possible and gamble and, step off the edge and take on that next task, because amazing things can happen for all of us, any of us. I'm just a regular guy who was a computer geek that worked for several different companies before I started throwing boxes around at UPS. I was a music major in college, but didn't really do anything with my music degree. But great things can happen for all of us. Now, I say all these things about Patrick and talk about his positive attitude, but he's human. He's human, so he has his days, right? Your moments.
Right, there are days, and especially when I was in college, there were days where maybe I didn't want to get up and go to classes, or the weather was not that great outside. It was a long day. I didn't want to have to endure that 2-hour marching band rehearsal. I would rather have been in that nice heated or air-conditioned house getting through that homework assignment I didn't even want to do in the first place. But even today, whenever I face challenges that seem too difficult, one of my favorite artists has been an inspiration for me, because he had a lot of obstacles he had to conquer as well, especially when his fame was just starting to spread. And all I have to do is look at the obstacles that he faced and realize that they make my daily challenges seem like no big deal whatsoever. So in his honor, I would like to do a song by this particular artist. Thought with the sun coming out and spring just around the corner, and we're all really happy about that, right? So I thought with this next song, I'd take you a little further south to a place that's even a little bit more sunny. Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. I said it, Georgia, Georgia, a song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight through the pines. me. Other eyes smile tenderly. Still in the peaceful dreams I see, the road leads back to you. I said, Georgia, oh Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Now let me tell you something. Other arms reach out to me. Other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you. Georgia, oh sweet Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Since we are quickly running out of time, I'm going to, as they say in the congressional halls, yield the rest of my time to the gentleman from Louisville, Kentucky over here. But I just want to encourage everyone to not give up on your dreams. Find your passion, find what makes you happy, and pursue it with everything you've got, because it makes your life so filling. You know, for me it was my sons. I didn't know anything about being a dad, but you know, that's just once my sons came into this world, that was my passion. People write and talk about all I sacrificed for Patrick Henry and, you know, working nights. Never was a sacrifice. Never. I was blessed to be able to work nights and to go to school with Patrick during the days, and to be able to physically assist him on the marching band field. And even though I was tired and I was sunburnt and hot and miserable, so many of those long, and marching band, let me tell you, football day is not just a 3-hour ball game. It starts 5 hours before kickoff for band members, and you're the last people to leave the stadium. So it's an incredibly long day. But, you know, no matter how hot or tired I might have been, I just was always glad, from my perspective, that I was able to be there and to enjoy these moments with my son. So find what you're passionate about and pursue it with all your gusto and all your might, and I believe everybody's dreams can come true. I think Patrick's dreams are coming true. Certainly my wildest dreams have been far exceeded whatever I could have imagined happening for my family. I'm grateful you guys invited us here this evening. I thank the AWS Foundation, and make sure I got my acronyms right, IPFW, for inviting us here. I'm going to yield the rest of my time because Patrick has 2 more songs, and I know some great words that he wants to share with you all. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, Another great thing, you know, when I need a little bit more than Ray Charles to help me through some obstacles, and I look at a goal and I think, I don't know how I'm going to be able to get through it. I have a great acronym that helps me out. It's actually the first 3 letters of my name, PAT, P-A-T. Thank you, thank you. The P is for passion, patience, and perseverance. Because in order to achieve a goal, you've got to have a passion for that goal and be patient. It might take a while for your goal to work. That's why you've got to persevere, keep trying, don't give up. The A is ability and attitude. Use the abilities that you know you have, plus keep a positive attitude. And finally, the T is trust. Trust in yourself. You will achieve your goal eventually. But sometimes I need just a little bit more than that, and that's where this next song comes into play. It lets me know that even if I feel I can't conquer an obstacle, there is a greater power that'll help me through it. This is by country music duo Brooks and Dunn, and it's called Believe. Old Mary lived in that White House down the street where I grew up. Mama used to send me over with things. We struck a friendship up, spent a few long summers out on his old porch swing. Said he was in the war, went in the Navy, lost his wife, lost his baby. Broke down and asked him one time, now how do you keep from going crazy? He said, I'll see my wife and son in just a little while. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me and smiled and said, I raise my hands and bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. A few years later, I was off to college, talking to Mom on the phone one night, getting all caught up on the gossip, the ins and outs of a small town life. She said, oh, by the way, son, old man Wrigley's died. Later on that night, I lay there thinking back. Thought about a couple long lost summers. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. But if there was ever anybody who deserved to take it to the other side, it'd be that sweet old man who looked me in the eye and said, I raise my hands and bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. I can't quote the book, the chapter, or the verse, but you can't tell me it all ends in a slow ride in a hearse. You know I'm more and more convinced the longer that I live. Yeah, this can't be, no, this can't be, no, this can't be all They tell me that there's more to this than just what I can see. I believe, oh, I believe, I believe. Thank you. Thank you very much. So do we have time for one more? All right. I'll do this last one, but I'd like you to help me out on the third verse. Will you do that for me, please? All right, sounds good. Now, before I do this song, though, I always like to dedicate this particular song to some of my heroes in life, and it goes back to the straight F's I mentioned earlier, faith, family, friends, and freedom. And when I think about freedom, the first thought that crosses my mind is that of our men and women in uniform, past and present. And if there are any here today, veterans or family members of veterans, I would just like to take this opportunity now to thank you very much for the service that you provide for this country, for making it the great country that it is today, and for making what we do possible. And I would actually also, I would also like to thank the teachers and the staff here for all that you do, and for everyone for asking me to come here to share my story. It's been a pleasure to be here. To all the students, best of luck to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and great things will happen. Thank you, and God bless. Beautiful for heroes prove a liberating strife, who more than self their country love. Mercy more than life. What I'm singing about is, it's America, sweet America. May God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. And you know, when I was a little boy, I used to sing these words. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain, America, America, my God done shed his grace on thee. Oh, yes, he did, and he crowned thy good. He told me he would, say with brotherhood, from sea to All right, y'all, help me out this one now. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, my God done shed his grace on thee. Oh, don't you remember now? He crowned thy good, said with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, thank you, Lord. Shining sea. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have as long as you guys do, or until I think Louise tells me we're finished. But we'd be happy to answer questions you might have for me or for my son, either one. So I don't know who's coordinating that, but or if it's me that's supposed to answer questions or pick people out. I heard him say something about 2 microphones for asking questions. Okay. I'll relay her question in case you can't hear it.
Where does he get all that strength in his arms? I mean, do you lift barbells too?
She wants to know where Patrick gets all his arm strength for the piano playing and what have you.
I guess it's just a gift. You know, I actually did used to lift weights, but I sort of gave up on that.
Exercise is like a 4-letter word to Patrick Henry, but anyway, that's another story. He likes to do forklifts, right? So,
Patrick, thank you very much. It's a very inspiring story that you told. And it's also hard to imagine to have been in the place that your mother was and your father was at the time. And you talked about the ultrasound and, you know, things maybe weren't as advanced back then. But I wonder what you would say to a mother now if she had an ultrasound and she saw the kind of disabilities that you had without the eyes and with the difficulties with the limbs. What words would you offer to a mother as she's struggling and thinking about her pregnancy and how she should look at the future?
Well, I would just tell her to keep an open mind and to think positively. You know, sure, there might be challenges and problems, but you know, the future is bright, and no matter how the child appears physically, you know, who knows? He or she could end up to, well, be a great leader, perhaps.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hello there. I teach U.S. history here at IPFW, and one of the themes I try to incorporate in my courses is the story of disability over the years. And it always gets interesting when we get to like 1989, 1990, and the passage of the American Disabilities Act, the ADA. So I'm curious whether you or your father have kept up with the developments of the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, over the last few years. And if you have, what do you think are some of the more pressing issues about it that might be in the balance right now? Or at least in the balance for the last few years?
Certainly we're familiar with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we were certainly happy to see it pass. And we very much appreciate, obviously, all of the accessibility that they've made of new construction and buildings, and the attempts that people make to modify their buildings, whether it's restaurants or whatever, that were even built before the ADA, as they try to accommodate people with disabilities, or as we like to say, different abilities. As far as where the act is now and the different things that are going on, I don't really have a lot to do with the day-to-day, other than when it hits me in the face. And that's not that I don't care, it's just that there's so many other things that we're doing in our lives. But certainly we're very grateful for it, and when we go to places that aren't accessible, we're the first to point out to that manager, that hotel manager, that restaurant manager, or that school, or whatever it might be, that there's no ramp here. How are we going to navigate these steps, and point out to them what they could do to make, even if they have an accessible entrance, what they could do to make that entrance accessible. Because it's amazing, no matter how hard people try to imagine what it would be like for a person who uses a wheelchair for mobility, until they're actually in that chair and trying to make that run that person has to make, they can't imagine what they go through. Airports are the worst. All these new restaurants that have the big tall tables that people go in and they sit on the stools, they're useless to my son. So when we're traveling and we're in airports, we've got to find a restaurant that not only doesn't have those big tall tables or the high bar area to sit at and eat at, which is no good for Patrick, but just that has a table, period, that we can find for Patrick, because Patrick can't hold his, or I guess he could, but he struggles with holding a plate of food and using the fork all at the same time. So we really need a table for him. And you've been through airports, you've traveled. A guy finds a table and he's, or not a guy, a traveler. We'll keep it by gender here. A traveler finds a table, and it's heaped with their briefcase and their laptop and all their electronic cords, and they got a table for 4 with all their junk and their sandwich, and we're still looking for a table. So whenever we see an opportunity to share with others how they can make something more accessible, we're happy to do that. There's constant battles in our home state of Frankfurt, when people with disabilities go to the Capitol and they're protesting a certain bill or a certain act or something that is going to affect people with disabilities, and we're always happy to go and be a part of those things. Certainly with Patrick's media attention, he brings attention to issues that may not otherwise get the media's attention if he weren't there. And I don't mean to sound arrogant, but that's just the way. I hope that doesn't come across that way. But if Patrick's in Louisville, Patrick has grown up on TV. He's like Truman, that movie with Jim Carrey. People have watched Patrick grow up on television because every year he's on like a yearly telethon we have called the Crusade for Children, and he's done fundraisers for United Way and visually impaired preschool service and all these things. So people have watched Patrick grow up. So when we tell the media he's going to be somewhere, usually a couple of stations at least will come and be there as well. So that's what we do to try to make it better for others, and to share with others the struggles and the fights that Patrick runs into. At U of L, there's some buildings that are very old and antiquated, and they've found a way to put an elevator in them, but when that elevator breaks down, Patrick can't get to class. And then we're hosed. I mean, how's he going to get to a lecture that's on the 3rd floor of this 100-year-old house that's now a classroom building? And the thing is, as much as we've always been ready to fight and battle those wars, people have always tried to accommodate us and make it happen. So I've found that while I'm always willing to go to war and get bloody for battle, if I just talk to people politely and tell them what the situation is and what the problem is, they will try to accommodate us as best they can, or at least get the ball rolling in that direction.
All right, thank you.
My name is Justin Grossbeck. I'm in the 8th grade at Prairie, and I was just wondering what gave you the passion for your piano playing.
What gives Patrick the passion for his piano playing? Is that correct?
Yes.
I guess I would just have to say that, overall it's been, music has been a great thing for me, and has given me the opportunity to do many things that I probably would not have been able to do without it, such as travel and meet new people.
Music, and Patrick's passion for music has opened many doors for him, and his gift, but also his education has been extremely important. I mean, if Patrick doesn't go to college, because it's too much trouble for his mother and I and our busy lives and what we're doing, then he doesn't get in the marching band, and maybe, you know, none of this happens. So education is so important in Patrick's life and in music as well, but it's just it's a gift for him, right?
Right.
Well, I'm well aware that you're a very talented musician, especially during the course of this lecture. I witnessed firsthand you are phenomenal, but the question I'm asking is, who is your absolute favorite artist?
Well, you know, that's actually a tough question to answer because, you know, I have so many songs and artists stored up here that it's hard to pick a favorite. I actually have been blessed to meet many of them, especially in the field of country music. So because of that, I always say that my favorite is the one I'm about to meet when I'm about to meet him or her.
You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right. That's not to say I haven't met any, you know, from other genres as well. So.
What's your favorite genre of music? You'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Well, a little bit. I used to always say it was country music, and that is true. I do still love it, but not too long ago I took a course at U of L concerning a history of music in America, and it taught me that my true favorite style of music is folk music. You know, sort of like sounds like there's some fans out there in the audience. Yes, it just so happened that, yes, I love the new country, but I really like the older country from like the 60s, 70s, maybe even the 50s. And that class taught me that folk music is really what that older country music is.
First, I'd like to thank you for making one of my lifetime dreams come true, seeing Ray Charles play live.
Thank you.
Second, do you think U of L has it this year?
Sorry?
Will the University of Louisiana, do you believe they'll take the playoffs this year?
Well, you know, you never know. But I wish them the best of luck, but what you've really got to realize is that, yes, the sports are fun, but the university, what it truly is, you know, an educational facility that is educating perhaps our future leaders.
Yep. Thank you. And we'd like to extend congratulations to your all's women's basketball team. We understand IPFW is in the CBI or the CIT, one of those basketball tournaments. So a first for your ladies basketball team. So congratulations.
Hello. Hi, my name is Carla Avila, and I teach Spanish here. Español.
Ah, muy bien.
Muy bien. Felicidades. Congratulations on your recent graduation. And I wanted to ask you if you have any plans to pursue a master's in Spanish or Spanish music or...
You know, there is always the possibility that I might look into that when I'm older, but I'm sorry, but right now I'm sort of enjoying, you know, being out of school. So.
I don't take that as an insult. Gracias.
Yes, you know, it's actually funny. I used to take some of my school books with me during that travel schedule my dad was talking about, and I think back in January I what's the word I want? Look back on the fact that, you know, it was the first event that I did that I didn't have to take school books with me.
It was quite a 4.5 years with flying out of town to speak at events, flying back, going to classes, you know, immediately getting on an airplane, going out of town, speaking with the book tour and all that. So I can certainly, my wife and I, neither one pushed Patrick to keep on, you know, pursuing the next level of education at this point. We knew he was ready for a break, and we wanted to grant him that. So, but we never say never, right?
Right. Yes.
Patrick, I'm Pastor Ronnie Lytle. I admire your abilities, and I know you're a true child of God. But the question I'm asking you is this: Somewhere down the line, do you ever stop and think of becoming a youth minister for the kids or doing something like that?
Well, you know, all options are on the table, so to speak. You know, if something should crop up and that happens to be available to me, if opportunity knocks, then sure, I'll open that door. You know, I have, you know, as I mentioned, I have my own goals and dreams, but whatever God has in store for me, that's what I'll do.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Patrick, besides doing events like this at universities, schools of all varying shapes, sizes, and locations, we get to do a lot of big corporate events for their annual sales conferences and things. We also get to go to some of the largest churches in America and share our story in those venues. Patrick actually got to be with Dr. Schuler at the Crystal Cathedral a few months ago, which was a surreal moment in my life, having watched him on television when I was a boy. But Patrick's actually on the 10th reading of the Holy Bible. Just like piano practice is a part of his daily routine, the first thing Patrick does after he's done at the piano is he goes back to his bed and reads the Bible. He has the Braille Bible, which it's longer than my wingspan. It's huge, but he reads every day, religiously, if you will, no pun intended. Anyway, but Patrick's faith is phenomenal, and we're blessed as a family to have him, if you will, lead us and keep us going in the right direction when our faith is challenged.
I want to say thank you for coming tonight. It's been an inspiring presentation, and I love the music. I'm so glad you caught that moment of Patrick when he was 2 years old playing the piano by ear. And I wanted to, was kind of wondering, when you play a new song, you listen to it, you know, how do you go about memorizing a new song?
I learn it all by ear. Yes, there is Braille music available, but it's very rare and, at least for me, very difficult to understand. So with a classical piece like the Rustles of Spring that I did, my piano teacher, the Juilliard graduate, she'll take, you know, just a regular $15 cassette player and tape record the piece at a slowed down tempo. Then I'll take the tape home and play along with it until I feel I'm ready to go without the tape, at which time I'll start getting it to performance level. Now, with like the jazz numbers I did, and the country and what have you, if I want to learn one of those songs, I'll pick up a CD with those lyrics and learn with the songs and learn via the CD.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
As a former piano minor, my major was violin back when I was in school, and I really had no intention of thrusting music on my kids because I was a music major, but you know, as time went on, that was a love of Patrick's. Patrick showed me that he wanted to play piano. To be quite honest, I didn't do it on my own, and that's another story, I guess, but it's in the book, right?
Right.
Okay, but anyway, it's phenomenal as someone who plays piano to hear Patrick get a new piece of music and to be familiar with that piece and know all of the intricacies and how the fingers and hands all work against each other and the rhythms, and to hear him start on a piece in his room, you know, very slowly and methodically learning how all the notes interact against one another, and then just in a short, relatively short period of time, be able to turn the tape player off and have it up to tempo and start, working on the music, if you will. It never gets old. He gets up a lot of mornings before I do. I get to wake up to Debussy's Claire de Lune. It's unbelievable. Yes.
Hi, I attend Southside High School, which offers the International Baccalaureate program, and I would just like to know how that benefited you.
Well, I guess the main benefits I saw in it is, it gave me it tested me out of 2 years of Spanish, and
Patrick began his freshman year of college taking junior and senior level Spanish classes. So he only took 12 credit hours per semester at U of L, 2 of which were his trumpet lesson and 1 of which was marching band a lot. So he was really only taking course-specific classes 9 hours, but he was still able to graduate in 4.5 years because he was able to test out of over 2 years of Spanish because of the International Baccalaureate classes he had taken in high school. So it was, it was hard work, right?
Not too bad with the Spanish, I don't think. But of course, I took some other IB classes. I think I did history and biology as well, and those were a little difficult. But
how did they help you? Taking that history and biology, how did it shape you?
Well, that's really a tough question to answer, apart from talk me out of less credit hours. I'm sorry, but
it taught him how to accept getting a B on his report card. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
Yes,
certainly, yes. Yes.
Mi nombre es Yolanda Lane y soy de Puerto Rico.
Ah, sí.
Y quiero felicitarlo por tan bien español que usted habla y porque usted es una inspiración para todos nosotros. Keep it up.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. She congratulated me on my Spanish, and I guess she could sort of pick out okay, she said also that I was an inspiration.
I caught the keep it up part at the end.
Right.
I didn't know that was Spanish, but I got it.
Hi, Patrick. I'm not accustomed to public speaking, so if I stutter, I did pass puberty. But I'm also a graduate from IPFW, and a few years before I graduated, I married the love of my life, my wife, who is actually sitting in the wheelchair over here. So I guess the question I wanted to phrase is probably one you've never had before. I wanted to ask you about a piece of marital advice. My wife is very talented, such as you are, at the music. She's a soloist. She does play a little piano. She's not quite up to your standard, but her knowledge of music is way outstanding of mine, which I'm the guy who drives around listening to talk radio and books on tape.
Oh, cool.
Rather than radio rather than music.
Well, first...
Go ahead.
Sorry, you're still going.
I don't think you got into the marital advice part.
Yeah,
yet. I'm anxious to hear this answer myself.
Yeah, I'm actually...
my wife doesn't always believe in her own abilities. And I'll probably pay for this when I get home, but she is not always confident about doing her own singing, about being there to do things. If it wasn't for her, I probably would still be at IPFW, because she helped me out of a couple of writing classes, because that's another one of her gifted talents. What kind of advice would you give to someone if you could give her a piece of advice right now to keep on moving, to keep on dreaming about what she wants to do?
Well, first of all, congratulations on your marriage. And as for her advice, I would just have to say, keep trying, and remember this. I heard a great quote. I forget who said it, but it's, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think it was a Henry Ford quote. So, think positively and give and, try new things, and you will be able to achieve whatever goals you want.
Thank you.
Yes.
Patrick Henry, you are wonderful, and Dad, you too. On behalf of IPFW and all of us here tonight, we want to thank you for a most meaningful experience, and wish you a good night and a great trip back to Louisville. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless.